Well, ahoy, good morning. And I think we can safely say that the season has turned. And who's okay with that? And especially the gardeners are okay with that. Bring it on. If you're one of those people who says that autumn is your favorite season, you're in good company. A lot of very interesting people, a lot of literary people say autumn is their favorite. Virginia Woolf could not wait to be done with summer sunshine. She said, bring on the rain, the snow, the fog, and humanity. I guess she felt summer sun was sort of alienating or something. It was a little bit of a strange thing. So I've started a little ritual for myself in the mornings now, and I'm going to recommend it to you. It's a total game changer. It's called, I think I'm calling it, Sky Before Screens. So yeah, I think you can kind of guess where this is going. When you wake up, and your first impulse is to reach for your phone, or boot up your laptop, or, God forbid, turn on the television. Don't do those things. And instead, just put on your carpet slippers and pull on a bathrobe and go outside and look up. And what you see will depend on, I guess, how late you've slept. On a day like this, you might not want to stay out there too long. You get a few fat raindrops in the face and in you go. But if it's not raining, you're bound to see something interesting in the sky at that early hour. The other day I went out and in the pre-dawn, and the sky was entirely clouded over except for one little kind of hole over here. And I was standing there staring at the hole, and the moon popped into it. It was like, caught you looking. And we had a laugh about that, the moon and I, at that hour. You get a little loopy at that early hour of the day. So what you do is just stay there and look, and whatever you see, stars or the beginning of sunrise, and just take it in for maybe a minute or two. And then you go back inside, and at this point you have permission to go jump online, but my prediction is that you won't want to, because you've diffused that kind of itchy reflex to go online. That dose of the sky was all you needed to dampen down the impulse to be in cyberspace. Now, we talked I don't know if you remember this, we talked last fall, or one of my last services, about how the 4 seasons are kind of an arbitrary thing. Like, we've just decided there should be 4 seasons, but in Japan, for example, there are not 4, but 72 they call them micro-seasons, each one of them about 4 to 5 days long. So I looked it up to see what micro-season we're in right at this moment, and it's called, they have these lovely poetic names. This one's called Crickets Gather at the Door. So the insects want to be warm, and they're kind of huddling in. And I am a big fan of the micro-season idea, and I think we should adopt it. The trouble is you can't just wholesale adopt the Japanese one for us, because their climate's slightly different and the flora and fauna is a little bit different. It doesn't completely map over BC. So my challenge to you is to, as you think about coming in on a Sunday, try to figure out what would you call the micro-season that we're in right now. So I think we should make a project of this, and remember we used to have the Johann suggestion box out there for you to put ideas into. I couldn't find it today. I promise you I'll get it back there for next week. But think about it, and if you have an idea of what this season, micro-season, should be called, put a little note in and we'll read it out. My own nomination for today is Buckle Up for the Atmospheric River. I feel like that might be the one. Anyone else have an idea of what would you call this micro-season? Jim's got an idea.
I call this one Unitarians Run for Their Cars.
Leaves soak the ground.
Oh, I love it. I was thinking also something about salmon, like salmon shoot their bolt or something. Coming up the stream. Anyway, it is always singing weather around here, so let's get things started with an Allison Nixon special. good to be with you.
Thank you, Bruce. So this song has the word thee in it, but it's meant to be with a lowercase d, because thee refers to the sacred essence of all of you, not to God. Well, some might say that is God. You can decide. Please rise. Let me walk with thee, let me see the world as you see, let me know the paths you have trod. Let me walk with thee, let me see the world as you see, let me know the paths you have trod. If you have been shaped by fear and terror, may I be a safe haven for thee. If you have been shaped by hunger and longing, may I offer you food for this journey. Can you walk with me? Can you see the world that I see? Can you know the paths I have trod? Can you walk with me? Can you see the world that I see? Can you know the paths I have trod? We each walk alone on this path of life and have our own struggles to bear. Yet if I can see just a little through your eyes, it is joy that our souls will share. Let me walk with thee, let me see the world as you see, let me know the paths you have trod. Let me walk with thee, let me see the world as you see, let me know the paths you have trod.
Well, welcome again, everyone, to North Shore Unitarian Church, where we don't always go full pagan to begin the service, like I did this morning, but earth-based traditions are one of the 6 sources that we draw on. And I kind of wanted to front load with some nature today, because the rest of the service is going to be about the human-built world. My name's Bruce Grierson, and I'm thrilled to be your service leader this morning. If you're new to this faith tradition, Unitarian Universalism, know that it's a big container. Big enough, we think, we hope, that you'll find something here that resonates with you. Whether you've come here fleeing a different faith tradition that was foisted on you as a little kid, or maybe you're looking to augment the faith you already observe with a second tradition that kind of fills in some of the gaps, or maybe you were raised an atheist, but there's a spiritual current running through you that's trying to ground itself. Or maybe you've just heard of Unitarianism and wonder what it's all about. So as you know, the great Jane Goodall died earlier this month. And some of the obits mentioned the pivotal moment when she changed anthropology forever. So Jane was in Tanzania with her colony of chimps. And after 4 months of observing them, she sent a telegram with photographs to her mentor, Louis Leakey, in Nairobi. And in that was documented proof that chimps use tools, just like us. And Leakey replied by telegram. He said, "Now we must redefine tool, or redefine man, or accept that chimpanzees are humans." Well, in the same spirit, now you've come here and seen documented proof of atheists sitting side by side with theists. And you may be going, now we must redefine atheists, or redefine church, or accept atheists as spiritual creatures. Anywho, we're glad you're here, where we gratefully meet every week on the traditional lands of the Coast Salish people. Let's light our chalice. And today, it's my great pleasure to have Alice McSherry assisting me with this. And many of you know Alice. Something very special about her being here today, lighting us up, so to speak, is that it was, almost 19 years ago to the day, or almost to the day, I think the day minus one, Alice joined this congregation. And Alice, by way of introducing herself and where she kind of is right now, wrote a few words, and I'm going to read them to you. With your permission, yeah? Okay. Alice says, "For the last many years, I've felt an affinity for the land of my birth, Scotland. I'm planning on going there before I die. That could be difficult, as most of us don't know the timetable. I don't know if this comes from a past life or if I missed it by coming to Canada as a baby, as if I had a choice. I was 9 months old. When I joined a women's group here at NSUC, I encountered many lessons from and with, you guessed it, women. These women loved me into seeing that I did not have to hide. More than that, they helped me take down the barricades while allowing a trust to build. Now fear is nowhere in sight, and love has taken its place. Again, time has played a part in my decision to live with greater depth, meaning, and purpose. It includes a desire to travel, to be more intentional, to not hold back, to give everything I'm able to give, to love as if there were no tomorrow. I drank in everything this church had to teach me. I tested boundaries and questioned everything. I am rarely here, but my heart is. This church has helped put much of what I learned in therapy, in life, from friends, from books, even from myself, all of that it's helped put into practice. I have become a completely different human. I hold my own. I stand up for myself. I live. I love. I think. I'm grateful. I'm honest. I laugh. I am happier than I have ever been in my life." So with that, Alice, I'm going to have you come up and light our chalice. There we go.
Oh, I made it up.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
So, for some reason, they call the little one the child candle, and I guess that makes this the adult candle. And from there, we go. Oh, it's already going. You know what? Let's double up.
Okay.
We kindle this flame as a symbol of our gathering.
May the light of understanding illuminate our darkness. May the warmth of sharing bring us peace.
Thank you. Should we go back? Or do you want us to? No, let's go back to this.
Okay.
And I can do the other two if you like.
Okay.
Unless why don't you do them? No, it's just
Okay.
call an audible. You do. Our second candle, joys and concerns. I have a few things on my list here. Marga Hanna is back in Canada. Her 2 sons are with her, and all is as well as it could be with her for now. Pat Brand is home with Roy, being taken care of by care workers. Nora Coates is at the Wesley, and the Nobles are there too with her. On another note, Lila is, as you know, the CUC's youth representative, and she's at the conference in Edmonton this weekend. I don't quite know what happens there, but she will no doubt let us know. Anyway, it's cool that they sent her there. It would have been even cool if it was a city like Toronto or Montreal. Anyway, lovely. And the final candle is our candle of global concerns. So 2 weeks ago, I put a placeholder in my notes, and it said, "Finally a bright spot in the darkness, peace in Gaza." And back then it seemed a coin flip whether or not the peace would hold. And so far, it has. This week, hostages on both sides were released. And now the world learns what they endured in captivity. It wasn't so much that bones were broken, although I hear that happened, but spirits were. The prisoners were told lies about what was happening out there in the world that they couldn't see. Some were told that their families were dead. Imagine being released into the arms of loved ones you'd resigned yourself to never seeing again. It must seem unreal. One said, "Sometimes I'm afraid to close my eyes because if it's a dream, I'll be gone again." I'm going to suggest we take 2 minutes right now of silence and let your emotions ground on whatever they find in your heart.
How did we get to this place where we could look at each other's face and see anything but beauty and understanding? I want to know who you are and face the suffering that keeps us far apart.
I can never truly lay the world through your eyes or take away your pain.
But I'm listening, and I'm hoping you can hear me say, "You are my neighbor, you are beloved, you are worth seeing for who you are. You are my neighbor, you are beloved, you are worth seeing for who you are." I'm here, I'm listening with you. Break bread with me, make peace with me, speak the truth with me, begin again with me, create with me, create with me, be the change with me that keeps our children safe and free. There are no other people's heartaches. There are no other people's injuries. There are no other people's children in this world. See what is unseen. There's no wall between our beating hearts. Say it with me. You are my neighbor, you are beloved, you are worth seeing for who you are. You are my neighbor, you are beloved, you are worth seeing for who you are. I'm here, I'm listening with you. Hold hands with me, forgive with me,
So there is a professor of design named Sarah Hendren. You'll see her in a minute. There she is. Now, Sarah teaches at a college in the eastern U.S., and not long ago, she brought a guest in to speak to her students. So Sarah's a design prof, and, well, I'll let the story tell you what she does. So the guest's name is Amanda, and she's a museum curator who does a lot of presentations for big groups. And she was looking to buy her own lectern to bring with her to speaking gigs. And Amanda called up a supplier and said, I need a lectern. What are my options? And they said, well, you can have the wood grain, brushed steel, acrylic. And she said, how big are they? How big? Well, standard size, you know. For taller people, the microphone extends. And she said, what about short people? And they said, how short? Amanda's 3'11". She has a condition that used to be called dwarfism. I think we would now say she's a little person. So there are a lot of ways to build a lectern, even see-through, like this lovely Barry Forbes special here, which dissolves the wall a little bit between the speaker and the audience, and that's awesome. But a lectern is still a lectern, and the design specs of it have some assumptions based in. People who make lecterns for a living assume that the most important voices belong to people of literal standing, right? People who can see their notes on a standard lectern. And mostly that means adults over 5 feet tall. So Sarah Hendren, the teacher, puts a question to her design students. What solutions can we come up with for Amanda? So basically the choice is scaling Amanda up to meet the world, like maybe you put a really tall step that slides out from below, or adapting the world to meet Amanda, which might mean convincing a company to build lecterns of different sizes, or maybe starting a company like that yourself. Who gets to decide who the most important voices in our culture are? Who gets to decide? So I think this is the first time, to my knowledge, that we've tackled the subject of design in this space. And if you think it's a lightweight topic, I'm hoping that half an hour from now you'll have changed your mind, because truly there is nothing superficial about design, because design really isn't about how things look. It's about how they work. Design is the invisible scaffolding behind all the decisions that make the world you see around you, the world you move through. And those decisions have a profound effect on the human spirit. There's someone very familiar to you, Frances Pretty, who was so long a beloved member of this congregation. The way she navigated around this place in her wheelchair, and the way Alice has navigated around on her walker, and Karen, these have influenced some of the design decisions that we've made around here, including putting in an upstairs bathroom and an elevator to come. And as you see, there's still a little bit of work to do. In a perfect world, there'd be a little ramp right up to the stage here, but we're making headway. Little things like this that the rest of us hardly notice. The stairs we're climbing, the curbs we're stepping off, the doors we're pulling open, all potential showstoppers for people with physical disabilities. A wheelchair meets friction at every turn. And now, if you're Francis, you're facing another bunch of challenges when you get back home. Fussy cabinet handles and unpickupably heavy skillets, is that a word? And impossible jars and diabolical can openers, and you're going, wait, who designed this world? Who built this place? And who did they think was going to be the user? Well, the short answer is normal people. They had normal people in mind. See, most designers want to maximize profit, so they aim for the fat middle of the market, the statistically average user. That's why you can't find pants that fit. That's why shoes pinch and chairs become uncomfortable. They were not made for you. They're made for that mythic beast that is the normal human, which is nobody. And the problems are magnified for people with disabilities who find themselves, like Amanda on her lectern hunt, or Frances in her wheelchair, forced to adapt to the world rather than the other way around. Now, this one will take you back to your school days. Who has heard of the Procrustean bed? Okay. In Greek mythology, there was this gentleman called Procrustes, and he ran a hotel in the countryside. And the hotel welcomed all travelers, but they only had one bed. So the traveler's going, really? I don't think that bed's going to fit me. And Procrustes, behind the front desk, smiles a sinister smile and says, fits all size travelers, ma'am. Or sir. Do you remember the rest? So it did fit all size travelers. If you're too tall, they cut off your feet. If you're too short, they stretch you on the rack. Bed fits you perfectly now. Like us on Yelp. So you can see why Procrustes is considered one of the most dastardly villains in all of literature. There's something sadistic in the whole mindset that it's up to you to contort yourself to fit what I'm offering or miss out. Why is it always the quote-unquote non-normal folks who have to adapt, especially since literally nobody is normal? So today, we're going to talk about the antidote to that kind of thinking. We're going to conjure a world that embraces difference, embraces it rather than pathologizing it. There was a Special Olympics athlete named R.J. Peet. He was a basketball player and a runner. He's on the autism spectrum. There's R.J. And this boy's mother watched from the sidelines with a mixture of pride and frustration, buoyed to watch him shine on the track, but heavy-hearted at his struggles in the world beyond it. And she got involved as an organizer, as an activist. There's Mom. And one day she dropped the zinger line that inspired the movement for the rights of the disabled and really could be the tagline for this whole field called universal design. She said, I wouldn't change my son for the world, but I would change the world for my son. So universal design, and this is the official definition, courtesy of the person who coined the term, an architect named Ron Mace, who was in a wheelchair due to a childhood accident. He said, universal design means everyone can access and use this, regardless of age, ability, or status in life. So that's a superhero move right there. You've heard of the Marvel Universe? This is the marvel of universal design. Protects the interests of the marginal, the underdogs, the systemically disadvantaged. Sounds like a pretty good subject for Unitarians to sink their teeth into. So let's get to it. What are some examples of universal design that we can think of? Well, all gender washrooms, trans safe spaces, inclusive language accommodations. Anyone here find it hard to eat what you want or need to eat when you go out? Maybe your diet's restricted by health or by choice. Imagine if, say, gluten-free flour were the default flour you bought at the store. There'd be lots of different varieties, and you could make delicious things like this brownie. And suddenly, people with celiac wouldn't go hungry at potlucks, and no one else would notice the difference. That is universal design. So what other minority groups can we think of that get the short end of things? What about colorblind folks? 8%, did you know this? 8% of men are colorblind, actually, and only about half of 1% of women. Men are 15 times more likely to be colorblind than women. I did not know that. Anyway, by far the most common kind of colorblindness is red-green, right? So it kind of makes stoplights challenging for a colorblind teenager who's learning to drive. Turns out there's been some progress here. Traffic light designers have subtly mixed in a little blue with the green to make it look different from red to colorblind people. Or not so subtly. See, Japan has led the way on this. For Japanese, this is a Japanese stoplight. It's more blue than green. For Japanese drivers, blue is the new green, and it works for everybody. What about lefties? 10 to 15% of the population is left-handed. 1 billion of us. And yet how many left-handed kindergartners went bananas with frustration after being issued standard scissors? How many left-handed violin students were left to flounder as the band played on? How many left-handed soldiers were sent off to war with right-handed guns? If there were any justice, every town would have a store like this. The other day, Lila told me Lila was rooting in the stacks of the McPherson Library, looking up patents for some reason, and she found a patent for left-handed underwear for men. Okay, that's an image you didn't expect to be taking home from church. Okay, what about older people? Now, this is a group that, as many of you know, gets short shrift in the world of design plans. A lot of older people are otherwise healthy, except that age has happened to them. So strength and dexterity ain't what it used to be. Maybe some of the sensory faculties are going a little bit too. It's amazing how much of a mismatch that creates in the modern world. I once did a story on cutting-edge product design for older people. So some company had made ingenious no-spill mugs for people with tremors. I remember there was another product called New Eyes, billed as hearing aids for the eyes. So it's a magnification technology. You put on a pair of glasses, and it has a tiny camera that sits on the bridge of the nose and zooms in on stuff when you give it a voice command. You know, almost like Siri, I'd like to see what that small print says. And it dawned on me that almost all these things would make life better, not just for the older user they were intended for, but for all of us. Like, who doesn't need a no-spill mug? And those glasses with the zoom lens, imagine, say, if you're a bird watcher. You hear a bird, and you turn your head, and you say, let me see that. And there it is, a western tanager, suddenly right there in your world. So here's the thing. What works for those with special needs also works for those with no special needs, but the reverse is not true. So the question to ask before we tweak the world is, which way is this pointing the funnel, this change I want to make? Is it narrowing it, or is it widening it? Does it serve more people's needs than the thing it's replacing? One of my side gigs is I do a little plain language editing for this organization called the People's Law School, which is a wonderful nonprofit based in Vancouver. Its mandate is to provide free legal education to as many people as possible. So the idea is that, this basic legal education should be available for everyone, clearly written, easy to understand, and free of charge. So you can go online there at People's Law School and search your legal problem, and up comes solid counsel vetted by a team of lawyers, but there's no legalese to hack through because fancy language is elitist. That's its job. It's designed, to intimidate someone being attacked by it or to confuse someone so they don't understand what they're being sold. It's smoke in your eyes while I pick your pocket. It's a barrier to justice for folks who don't speak the code, just like curbs are a barrier to crossing the street for folks on wheels. So here's an example. I exaggerated this example a bit. We wouldn't have actually done this. So here's a bit of legalese. The indemnifying party agrees to indemnify, defend, and hold harmless the indemnified party from any and all claims, damages, and liabilities, losses, costs, and expenses rising out of or related to the performance of this agreement. What's that like in plain English? If anything happens to you, it's on me. Okay, that's a little loosey-goosey, but that's the spirit of it. You want to say the same thing in English that everybody can understand. When you can give people legal information that's stripped of jargon and still accurate, that's something everybody benefits from. So, a lot of these ideas were hatched to meet the needs of some outlier group, but they work just fine for the rest of us. In fact, they're an improvement for the rest of us, too. It's as if by homing in on the needs of folks on the margins, the designers uncovered a common chord in all of us that wasn't being fully struck. You might remember a woman named Verna Marzo. I've talked about her in the past. She's a friend of mine who lives in Calgary. She was this powerhouse of a person, athletic, an adventure hound, and then around 8 years ago, she had a tragic mishap. She went to the hospital for a minor thing and got an infection in there, and surgeons ended up having to amputate all 4 of her limbs to save her life. So suddenly she's in this new abbreviated body in a world that doesn't fit very well, a world that was not designed for someone like her. There she is. So a custom bicycle maker in Calgary heard her story and heard how active she used to be and wanted to be. And he called her up and said, I think I can make something for you. And he fabricated this. She can steer and brake it with a single prosthetic hand. Verna couldn't ride an upright bike, so a recumbent bike was the answer. Now, recumbent bikes, you see them, but they're still quite rare, right? And it's funny, they shouldn't be so rare because this design has a lot going for it. Just ergonomically, it's a better position to be in. It's comfortable for longer. And it's low impact, less pressure on the joints. It's good for anyone with back or joint pain, which is going to be all of us eventually. If everybody rode bikes like this, we'd be healthier longer. Again, design for the outliers, elevate everyone. That is the secret sauce. If you put ramps and curb cuts in your city, that opens the way for wheelchair users, but it also makes bicyclists and skateboarders very happy. Verna had to lobby the Human Rights Commission to get an automatic front door installed in her apartment building. But now she can push a button with her elbow, and the heavy door swings open. So that's great for Verna. But also now, anyone carrying a bag of groceries in each arm does the same thing and gives Verna a little silent thank you, right? Suddenly, everyone is a little bit more free. My friend Daphne, who's a recently retired Montessori teacher, is a big champion of what's known as the calm classroom. And she owes her thinking about this to a student named James, who was on the autism spectrum. So James really struggled. He was constantly distracted. He was all over the place. She was constantly fishing him out of the girls' washroom and having to wrangle him back to class. And she looked around and said, you know what? This is part of the problem. There's a lot of clutter going on here in this room, this noise. So Daphne set about creating a new learning environment. Down came a lot of the stuff on the walls that was pulling eyeballs over there instead of on their work. Out came the garish carpet. She put desks and tables at different levels so that the noise would disperse, and a new level of calm descended. So last year, Daphne just retired, and in the last couple of months before she retired, she was out scouting a nearby fish stream where the class was going to release some salmon hatchlings. And who does she pass en route but James, all grown up now. It's been 10 years, and he does a double take as he walks by. Miss Daphne. And she goes, oh, James, how are you? And he says, Miss Daphne, I'm sorry I was such a bad kid. And she's thinking, oh my gosh, this kid's been carrying that for all these years. And they proceed to take a 45-minute walk together. And she says, James, you taught me more than I ever taught you because you changed the way I thought about teaching. I finally figured out that there was more I could do to make things easier, not just for you, but for every kid in the class. And it's true. There's plenty of research now about the calm classroom and just how well it works. Just keeping things minimal, and how all kids benefit from having a tidy, quiet, ordered, uncluttered environment. It's the rare kid who learns better when a million things are going on. And those kids, well, they could wear headphones that play music, and the classroom becomes a sanctuary for everyone else. Again, the funnel widens, more people are better off, and nobody's worse off. That's universal design. More people are better off. Hold on, though. Is this just about people? It may seem strange to ask, but is universal design exclusively a human thing, or can it apply across species? Okay, here's an eternal design challenge. The trash cans in national parks. They have two jobs: let humans in and keep bears out. They have to be simple to use, but unfigure-outable by yogi. And that's no small feat because, as one ranger in Yosemite National Park put it, there is considerable overlap between the intelligence of the smartest bears and the dumbest tourists. So it's fascinating to watch the evolving designs of these things. It's a contest that both sides don't know they're participating in. They just know that the garbage cans keep changing a little bit. As one designer put it, it's a race between engineers' problem-solving skills and the bears. But it's an important race that can protect both of our species. When you get it right, it significantly reduces bear-human encounters. Everybody gets to live, the Bruins and the humans. That's universal design gone wild. There's a philosopher at Oxford named Theodore Zeldin who thinks, this gentleman, who thinks there's another level we can hit with universal design. It should aim at the collective human soul. So all public and commercial spaces, he says, ought to be built so that they meet, quote, the intellectual and spiritual needs of everyone. As much as possible, they should put humans in contact with each other. So supermarkets should have a corner where kids can take music lessons while mom and dad shop. Hotels should be hubs of learning about each other. Guests and employees mingle in common areas. There'd be language lessons and conversation opportunities for the chambermaids who are often immigrants. Insurance companies should be incentivized to sell policies that don't just protect people from harm, but open them to wonder. You shouldn't be limited to catastrophe insurance, he says. You should be able to buy opportunity insurance. Okay, whenever I encounter somebody like that, my first instinct is to see if they might be Unitarian. He isn't, I'm afraid. Okay, so remember Sarah Hendren, the engineer we talked about at the beginning, the professor. She's really a philosopher. I think she's up there with Zeldin. She thinks universal design is actually about more than inclusiveness. It's an empathy machine. So all these people bouncing around like billiard balls out there in the world, all of us with roughly the same big needs, right? Love, companionship, respect, but each of us with our own unique needs. So if I'm a designer, how do I know what your needs are in order to meet them? Well, I have to find out who you are. I have to really listen to you. I have to try to grok what life is like for you, what it really is like. We're all misfits in some way, said Sarah. We're all dependent in some way. Our weaknesses are what unite us. See, universal design doesn't just mean cookie-cutter standardization, because then you're back to the one-size-fits-all pants that don't really fit anybody, and the hotel bed that fits all travelers. Ouch. We're all misfits in some unique way. So what's needed is a plan where everyone is accommodated, but each in their own way. And I think this is what doomed Esperanto. Do you remember Esperanto? Oh my gosh, what a gorgeous, utopic, up with people kind of idea. In some ways, it's the ultimate idea for universal design. Imagine if we just create a new language, and then we're all starting from scratch with it, and it'd be fairly easy to learn, and every school in the world would teach it. Before long, there'd be no more communication gap globally. All humans could talk to each other directly. It'd probably mean the end of war. Awesome. And they even designed a flag for it. This is the flag of Esperanto. And for a while there, it looked like Esperanto might just catch on big time. It might work. For about 20 years after it was hatched in the late 1800s, Europeans particularly were lapping it up. But then some stuff happened. It got out-competed by English, which was emerging as a kind of global default language. And there were other things going on too that set Esperanto back. But the real reason Esperanto failed, and it's still out there. I think there are like 5 million speakers or something, but it didn't blow up the way they'd hoped. And it's what I think is the reason any artificial designed language is probably doomed, is that it's not connected to anyone's culture. It's nobody's story. So it turns out languages aren't just about communication. They're about identity and belonging and roots and pride. They carry our ancestors' hopes and dreams. This is why when the United Nations formed, nobody said, we need a UN language, one common tongue that all of us are going to learn. People understood that no, the UN is a container of cultures. It's one thing that allows many things to express themselves in their own way. The whole big motley crew united in a common purpose. And that was the flaw of Esperanto. It confused universality with uniformity. I guess I shouldn't say a flaw, but a limitation, right? And I feel like that's the Achilles heel of a lot of religions, too. Out of all the possible stories, they pick one and draw up a playbook for that one. Any color you like as long as it's black, as Henry Ford used to say. One dogma. It's like a building without an elevator. It's like a street without curb cuts. It's like a buffet with no gluten-free options. It's like a hotel with just one size bed. Ouch. I've often thought, what would universal design look like in a faith tradition? Well, I'm sorry if it sounds like we're dragging our muffler a little bit here, but I think it might look like this. If universal design is really just barrier-free design, Unitarian Universalism aspires to be something like barrier-free worship. UU says, you know what? The major faith traditions have a lot of wisdom in them. They're not wrong, and they're not exclusively right. There are a lot of paths to the waterfall. So maybe to make a church that's still relevant in the 21st century, maybe it's not as hard as people claim. Maybe all you need is a little band of open-minded searchers. They meet on the regular in a third space. It's not private, it's not commercial. You don't have to buy an $8 latte or they kick you out. A space you can feel safe and elevated and connect with the sacred in a way that makes sense to you. It's a faith tradition that respects the dignity and worth of all persons. None of us normal, each of us a misfit in our own unique way, united in our weaknesses. To respect the inherent worth and dignity of all persons. That's it. That's our first principle. That's where this has been going all the way this morning. This is where we've ended up. And that's probably job one for universal design. And I would say never more important than right at this minute when the poisonous idea spreads that some people are worth more than others. Our job is to develop the reflex as we move through the world to ask, what are the barriers I see? And what are the barriers I myself am throwing up in the things that I'm creating? And if you're thinking, well, I don't really create anything, that is so not true. Everything you do is a creation. Every sentence out of your mouth is a creation. So now you ask yourself, am I widening the circle so that it engulfs every wallflower at the party waiting to be Robbie ruled in? It's no small endeavor, but it's the work. Amen. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum.
Draw the circle wide.
I now invite us into the spiritual practice of generosity. All of our Sunday offerings, unless designated as part of your pledge, go to local nonprofits that we value. Our outreach recipient for this month of October is the Edible Garden Project. These guys grow fresh vegetables on 2 community farms and 5 garden sites on the North Shore and then distribute them to those most in need. This is a charity we like very much. Please give as generously as you're able. Will the ushers please come forward? Thank you. May your generosity create a ripple effect of kindness. All right, we have a few announcements here as we come in for a landing today. Super Sunday today. Join us downstairs for soup that Diane has prepared. Now, this next one has no slide. It's from Kerry Burke about his... Okay, I'm going to say, I want you to picture flutes and saxophones growing up out of the dirt, like asparagus. Okay, Kerry was going to come and explain that. It's his music garden, and it's this Tuesday, 1:30 to 3:30, first of 3 weeks of the music garden. Explore the songs you love and why you love them. Play simple instruments, be mindful. You okay? Okay. Draw to music, explore your voice in a safe and lighthearted environment. It's an experience unlike any other, says Carrie. The music we will use is like play. Carrie and Liz are your guides to exploring the music garden. Okay. We have circle dinners returning, which is good news. Circle dinners are fun opportunities to gather in small groups for a shared meal at somebody's house. We're having the gatherings on Saturday, November 15th, and you're invited to sign up as a guest or a host. Hosts have people over to their place. You sign up how many you think you can accommodate. Guests bring side dishes and or dessert to share with the group. So far, at least 3 groups, and there's room for more, apparently. Now, Allison's mural. Okay, it's time for do you want to talk about this? Okay.
Just very briefly.
Sure. Oh, you know what? We don't have this mic working, do we? Sorry, I promised.
It's okay, I can
Just
shout.
use your big
Yes.
voice. Okay,
on.
okay, thanks.
So, after church today, we're going to be temporarily removing this screen that's here, this mural, taking it down. And so those of you who are able just to grab some soup and then come back on upstairs. We're just going to be taking it off. It's stapled on, so we'll just spread it out. The more hands, the merrier. Take out all the staples, making sure there's none left on the chairs for anyone to sit on. And then we'll add on and put on a new canvas. Thank you very much.
It's an amazing one you've chosen for this new one. Wow. All righty. Next Sunday, You're in for a treat. Our great lay chaplain, Catherine Nicholson, one-time choir director here, is up next week with a service called Finding Refuge in Music. You know, they say your superpowers are amplified when you're working at the junction of a couple of them. Catherine has led a life of social work, including counseling and therapy and hospice work, and she's led a life of music on both sides of the proscenium. Next week's service falls right in the hot spot, how music can heal and nourish. Absolutely not to be missed. Let's sing our final congregational hymn. One more step. Now, just a little closer before we extinguish the chalice, and you can take a seat for this if you like. In August, we hiked the Cape Scott Trail on the north tip of Vancouver Island. Anyone done that here? Wow, a lot of hands. It's so beautiful out there, but it is a hike. In the middle of it, my boots blew up. They just disintegrated. Now, in their defense, they were 40 years old. Here's what they looked like at the end of the trip. It's like something out of Charlie Chaplin. We borrowed duct tape to keep the soles on, and then when that wore through, we tried to tie them up with rope that I found on the beach. And then when that failed, I tried walking on just the tender moccasins that were left. Ouch. And it made me think of Pema Chodron's Lousy World meditation. Have you heard of this parable? So there's the earth beneath our feet, and it's studded with pointy things that hurt. And we want to protect ourselves. Wouldn't it be great if we could just pave the world? That way we can't be hurt. Just cover up all the pointy things. No more pain. So that's a child's view of the world. But then we grow up and we realize there's a simpler way to protect ourselves. And it doesn't involve trying to bend everything to shape our own needs. Instead of paving the world, you just pave your feet. You put on shoes. And Pema says we senselessly attempt to fix the world by trying to get rid of all the bad things, when it's much simpler to, in a sense, fix ourselves, to equip ourselves to deal with it. As we learned this morning, there are things we can do as a culture to lower barriers to entry for everybody. That's universal design. But we can never pave the world. And that's a good thing. Maybe that is the ultimate universal design, the one that begins between the ears. It's a retrofit not of the world, but of our own mindset. Thank you so much for your kind attention this morning. Thanks to everybody involved in this service, the greeters, ushers, sound people, audio people, all the volunteers working behind the scenes to keep this beautiful building and grounds for you. And thank you especially to Alice for making this trip. We've missed you. Let's put out the light. We extinguish this flame. The world calls us to live with depth, meaning, and purpose. That's it. Have a great week. Go Jays. The kind on the field and the kind in the trees. And there's a tall ship in the Burrard Inlet that is apparently quite magnificent. You might want to catch it at a certain point. Let's circle around.